What's up, Thumpers? We have some very exciting updates for you regarding our Patreon. If you haven't noticed, we just passed our second goal!
What was that goal? To greenlight an all-new show for Hyper RPG's YouTube. What was that show? Well, we haven't announced it just yet, but we're gonna do that right now.
Ooh, baby boy! That's right, we are introducing elevator pitches. Imagine, you're a big-time movie executive taking the elevator to your fancy schmancy high-rise office when all of a sudden, the door opens. In walks a very good-looking Hyper RPG host disguised as a temp employee, and they're on a mission from the movie gods. The host pitches you the greatest idea you've ever heard for a movie you could ever imagine. You're loving it. You're wanting it until that's your floor. You've got to go. But damn it, if that young temp didn't make an impression.
Elevator Pitches is a chance for us here at Hyper to pitch our ever-growing list of movie ideas to the world, packaged in a fun and interesting format. Be it a sequel, a reboot, or an adaptation, or even completely original works. We want to share our pitch ideas with you.
On an elevator.
So that's the big exciting news, but hold on to your butts, we got some more news. Our third goal is being packaged into our second goal. We've been wanting to do patron-only live streams for a while, and to bring more value to that $10 tier, we're gonna start doing live movie watch-alongs very, very soon. So hit up that Thumper VIP tier if you wanna watch these with us, and keep an eye out on our Twitter and our YouTube for more updates on when these watch-alongs will happen.
Last but not least, we've added some new goals to our Patreon. Our next goal, which we're already very close to, is that we'll be launching a gaming news talk show called Hit Points with resident Hyper RPG gamers Matt Acevedo and Naeem Stewart. They're currently filming a couple episodes for E3 coverage, but once E3 is over, we're pulling to Disney, where they're going back in the vault, baby, and we can only bring them out once we hit that goal, because we gotta get an editor, baby. Go check out Hit Points right now on our YouTube.
And keep in mind, this Patreon is for you, so go to the community tab on Patreon and let us know what we can do to tailor this for you. Your feedback is incredibly important to us. We consider you all investors in this awesome venture, so definitely have a say in this. Be vocal about it.
Big thank you to our subscribers, our patrons, our viewers, our followers, our fans, and you know what? I'm gonna give it up. Oh, baby, I'm gonna give it up for the haters for getting us to this awesome goal. Let's keep leveling up and let's keep Hyper RPG awesome. Woo!
What's up, Thumpers? Welcome back to another week of Hyper Heroes here on Hyper RPG. Super excited to be here. A lot of fun stuff to talk about on this episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. To those of you who just saw the Patreon video, thank you guys so much for helping us get to our next goal. We're actually really close to two goals. One of them, like you saw in the video, is to bring back hit points, which Matt and Naeem were doing during E3. And the one after that, the goal is to do a little bit of revamping on Hyper Heroes, a little bit of I guess to say a tune-up, as our good friend Dominic Toretto would say. Because we don't have friends,
like
we got family.
Family,
That's
my
right.
familia.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
We're joined here today by a very special guest. Obviously, Augustine is not here, but we are joined by a very special guest, the host of Marvel Movie News, and he's also on Collider Heroes. You can catch him all over the internet. Coy Jandreau is here. Welcome, Coy.
You know, the show started Fast and Furious reference, so I'm already in a really good headspace.
You're like,
about
I love it here.
I am home. This is good. Let's have a barbecue. and
That's
discuss
right.
Family.
If there was Coronas
we
in
normally
that
have
fridge.
Coronas. I feel like we've
Oh,
had
it's
that
so perfect.
on the show. That would
It's been a
great.
while.
Pull out that ice
It's not
bucket
whether
of-
you win by an inch or a mile winning is winning. We'll get Coronas next time.
Goddamn right. I also told these guys I'm having a little of a toothache going on, so my speech might be a little weird throughout this
okay.
episode,
You know what?
whatever.
Hey, man, I got you covered.
But
I got-
these two were like, don't worry, we'll handle. We'll
Whatever you need,
we'll talk the
whatever you
whole
need.
hour.
Also,
I'm like, all right.
I brought an ice skate down here, so you can just go ahead and use that like
I
Tom Hanks
love
in
that
Castaway. There
movie,
you
and
go.
I love that scene.
Cram.
Oh man, if I could, I would. Oh,
And just
God.
stand at a crossroads and figure
Oh
out
man,
your life.
the worst.
That-
the worst.
You know why that scene stayed in my brain for all these years is because it's horrifying.
It's still traumatic.
To be in that kind of pain and to not have access to dentists and stuff, and then you never think about that until you see that movie. And
And
you're
the
like,
sound design, like
I
you
know.
remember that crunch today, and that movie's like
know.
15 years old, but
Yes.
it got you.
oh my
Yeah,
god.
so it's
Castaways incredible.
2000, 18 years. That's crazy.
Everybody's saying welcome, welcome, Coy.
Welcome,
18
Coy.
years. Hello!
Welcome.
I've been
Yeah.
wanting to do this show for so long.
I
This
know.
is
Welcome,
one of the
man.
ones that I've like just it's been in the ether, and I'm like, it's here.
You could have just asked.
And then I eventually, and then I learned.
He literally
and I
did.
did.
Yeah, and that's what happened.
We love having people on the show to come on.
We've talked about having Coy on, obviously, because
Yeah.
we're we know each other and we're in the same thing, and he's a buddy, and it was great because you reached out a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
whatever it was.
yo,
You're
man,
like,
this happened
hey
pretty
man,
quick.
I know that Hyper RPG is a place I haven't visited yet, and I was like, well, come on down.
Yeah.
We'll set you up, and it worked out. So
And I'm
this is
leaving
great.
for Vegas in like 4 hours for Amazing
Wow.
News. So this is like, I literally do the show, jump in a car, head to Vegas, and like moderate Rob
driving?
Liefeld panel and stuff. Yeah,
Wow.
bold choices.
Nice.
You're moderating the Liefeld panel?
Yeah, we're doing
Congrats, man.
Liefeld, Lewis Attn, Brianna Hildebrand. It's an insane con.
That's
and
awesome.
Charlie
Wow.
Cox is going, who I've never met, so I want to
Oh
talk.
wow!
Cool.
And,
we met Charlie Cox.
Yeah, we
at
did.
the
Yeah,
Daredevil premiere.
that's
He was
right.
a really
yeah.
nice guy.
Very nice guy.
A good buddy of mine's his stunt double, and they
Oh,
became
cool.
like really good friends. He's the hallway guy, so like the Daredevil
Yeah.
hallway fight is my
all
buddy
right.
Charlie Brewster. So
That's
I'm excited to
awesome.
talk. Chris Brewster and Charlie Cox. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to him about like the other side of Daredevil.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
so
And
cool.
you saw Ant-Man.
Yes.
When did you see it?
I was at the screening on Monday.
Oh, at the Grove?
Yeah, the
I was
Grove.
there too.
Yeah.
But I saw it in 3D.
I did 2D
Oh, okay.
Okay.
because I
cool.
went to
Yeah.
a solo screening in 3D, and the whole time I was like,
Yeah.
this wasn't ready for me.
I really dug the 3D. I thought it was really
You did
good.
say that,
and like
yeah.
the first,
Yeah.
I thought the first Ant-Man, the 3D was also extremely well done.
Mm-hmm.
it was
Especially in
great.
certain sequences, not
Yeah.
necessarily like for the whole movie, but certain like shrinking sequences. The 3D is
it's
so
really
great.
cool. When they go
Really
into the
cool.
quantum realm, it is tight.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Cool.
What did you think
Cool.
of it? No spoilers yet because we haven't done a review. but-
Spoiler free, I was really impressed that it maintained the level of tone the first one did. I was really
Yeah.
impressed. Like that first one is a Paul Rudd movie in the Marvel universe,
Yep.
and I was like, will they do that again? And
Yeah.
I was really impressed that it escalated stakes that needed to while still maintaining the tone and the corner. Like Guardians of the Galaxy and Ant-Man both are like, this is our space. This is our space.
Yeah.
Yep.
And after Infinity War, you're like, how do you do that? And they do.
Yeah, I agree, especially because Peyton Reed, he came in so late in the game to do the
Yes.
first one. I wasn't like, this was like the first Peyton Reed movie from beginning to end.
Yes.
And I was impressed. I was like, wow, they really were able to maintain
the-
and keep that continuity.
That
of
makes me
film.
happy because the Guardians comparison is a good comparison because
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, was also a script from James Gunn and Nicole
Mm-hmm.
Perlman, and we'll never know how much of the script was either of them. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? And it's like, and because we all love that first movie so much, it's a thing of like, oh, Nicole Perlman did not write Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
And it
It was
felt a
all
different
James
movie.
Gunn.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it still going to work? Are we missing something of the sauce or whatever?
Yeah.
I really liked Guardians Volume 2, so it makes me happy that Peyton Reed on his own, without the Edgar Wright part of the
There's
equation.
a lot of fingerprints of Edgar Wright in that first one.
There-
Yeah,
you
for
can
sure.
definitely look at stuff.
The
and
scene
yeah.
in the suitcase is like, oh, Edgar Wright
Yeah.
had previous this 10 years
Uh-huh.
ago. Like,
Yeah.
that just felt like. And
They
then this.
previewed this
yeah.
at Comic-Con
Yeah.
one
Yeah,
year.
it's so weird how Rush is playing. It's
Yeah.
like, okay.
Exactly.
So this one, it was good to see like a full, like you said, a full Peyton Reed film, and it was just so much, which I didn't expect. I
Yeah.
didn't think it would be so frenetic and crazy, and I really they had more time to play with the small and large, the macro and
Yeah.
micro.
Yeah.
And I felt like they'd really established the world, so they didn't have to explain why the visuals were so much. Like the movie just
Right.
throws you in. I really,
Cool.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great.
Cool.
Too bad you can't go see it on
I know.
Monday.
Dang
I
it!
think.
I
I'm going
can wait.
again.
I'm gonna see it with all of the rest of the plebes of the universe that have
We
to
should
see
go
the
though.
movie
I'd be down to
opening
go
night.
see it for a third time with
Heck
an
yeah.
actual audience.
I want to see it in 3D with an
yeah.
audience.
Yeah.
I saw it in 2D so I could be like analytical and be like, yes, but I
Yeah.
want to experience it with an audience.
Yeah,
Cool,
I think
cool.
that's the thing that I love about going to see these movies early because then you can have that sort of analytical perspective, and then you're just there with fans to enjoy it.
It hurt Deadpool for me. The
Really?
first time I saw Deadpool was 10 a.m. and it was with a bunch of critics. So like I was laughing, but I was like going,
I'm the only one.
and like I did that
Yeah.
awkward look around of like, oh, have I made a fool of myself? And then I saw it again, and the entire like audience was uproarious,
Laughing.
and I enjoyed
Yep.
it so much more with that.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
Yeah, it can be hit and miss with those press
It
screenings,
can.
audience.
Same
It's
thing happened with
tricky.
Infinity War. I feel like
Yes, it was awesome. It was really,
you were
really
there for
great.
Infinity
I was
War.
at the
Yeah.
LCAP.
LCAP,
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
I
It was pretty quiet.
It was the first time I've ever gotten upset at critics though, because like I was sitting there and I was mourning the loss of my heroes,
Yeah.
and everyone like wanted to talk, so they just started talking. I was like, "You
Shut
respect
the fuck
credits
up."
are on. You
Yeah.
respect the death of our hero." Like I've never it was so uncomfortable because I'm like I can't yell at my peers, but I want to.
I know, I know. Shout out to the annoying ranter. Thank you for the $5 tip. Just because I love you guys, you too, Coy. Thank you
There
so
you
much.
go.
Ranter.
Thank you for the love.
Thank you. That's awesome.
So you co-host Marvel movie news. So it's all Marvel all the time for you, unless you're doing Collider Heroes.
Which has been a blessing to be able to branch
Yeah.
out. I gotta tell you, like when the Rob Liefeld news broke about him getting Extreme Comics and Netflix, I had to like wait a full week. It like broke on my Marvel movie news day, and I was just like, this is not quite canon.
Yeah.
So then I had to, and the DC stuff keeps happening, and this Comic-Con especially is so DC-tastic
know,
Yeah.
I
that
know.
I'm
Gonna
already
be.
planning on calling up the DC movie news guys and being like, hey, so a residency just for a month. I just want to be there a lot.
Get me in there.
I've been wanting DC to have this big like swath of announcements, and it's happening. This being before Comic-Con, and then all the
Yeah.
stuff they have coming. I'm just like this wave I've been wanting them to have.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm really excited because I've been a DC and Marvel guy for a really long time. Fell off off DC, and then I came back, but by then I'd already been established as like Marvel guy.
Right,
So I'd like painted myself into a very red corner of like, I'm in the brick.
Yep.
So it's been really nice to show people like I'm actually invested in these characters and not just like fake fanboying.
For sure. Well, that's the worst thing. I think that's what that like for us. It's always hard because a lot of times there's not a lot of DC news. A lot of times it's really dominated by Marvel.
Sparse.
Yeah. So people are like, all you do is talk about Marvel. I'm like, well, there's no real like DC news to talk about. Like, there's so many rumors that are floating around the internet, and we don't really tend to address them.
And they greenlit like 17 movies.
Yeah.
And you want to get to the point where you can talk about it. Like the
Correct.
Batgirl movie like
Exactly.
died before it started. And, you know, there's the 5 Joker films. We should talk about the 2 that might happen.
Even today, someone was asking if we're going to talk about Doctor Strange 2. There literally was no announcement other than Kevin Feige said, eventually we're going to get a sequel. It's going to be but it'll be a big gap from the first movie. I'm like, there's nothing else to say.
Yeah.
Nothing else to say.
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited about this announcement.
Because it's all official.
It's official.
Official announcement.
DC Universe gave us their first look at their new streaming service. I'm kind of in the same boat. Well, I grew up mostly DC. And I've sort of been waiting for something big to happen.
Yeah.
And to me, this DC streaming service is going to be pretty rad. We also got a first look, or a new look, I should say, at Brenton Thwaites as Robin. It looks awesome. I'm excited about this streaming service. The trailer was really cool. They showed us some of the movies that are going to be there. The original Christopher Reeve movies, some of the original, or a lot of the original Batman movies, the Dark Knight trilogy I saw in a photo, the animated stuff, Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Justice League. Nothing about Superman the Animated Series, which I'm hoping they do. But Super Friends will be on. There's so much stuff, and the big thing, also Lois and Clark, which I'm actually looking forward to rewatching that.
And I want to point this out
Beyond.
too.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to point this
that.
out too. It's like we see this image and we see all the stuff that's going to be on there.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily everything. We do see like the 4 Christopher Reeve Superman movies, but like we don't see Brandon Routh's Superman Returns.
Right.
You know, and even with the Dark Knight trilogy, I know in one of the press releases, I forget which, because like IGN released a thing, and then this company released
it was
a
a
thing,
Hollywood Reporter that
all over the
specifically
place.
named Batman Begins.
Yes, Hollywood Reporter named Batman Begins, I think, and The Dark Knight, but there's no Dark Knight Rises.
Right.
So it's kind of like, I guess there's little holes, I guess, considering how you look at it. And of course,
No
a lot
CW
of
shows?
Yes, a lot of outlets pointed that out, that there's no CW shows on there, probably because they have deals with Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
We probably won't see those CW shows make that jump for a while because of those kind of deals in place. And they're also saying like there's no DC Films franchise, meaning Man of Steel all the way to Justice League movies on there, probably because they have deals with like HBO or like wherever they're going to appear
HBO,
on cable, or you know they're still on home video. So like the home video, Warner Brothers wants that to like, but we're trying to sell Justice League Blu-rays. You can't just put Justice League the movie on this streaming service. That kind of a thing. Like all of those deals are probably why they couldn't just be like everything.
Yes.
And I think it's also a combination of a lot of this stuff is curated on purpose, and we can talk about the comic side of it too. The comics are not every comic book ever made, and I know people online
like thousands at a time or something.
Yeah, people were upset that it's like, well, why isn't it every single DC comic book ever made? And it's like, listen, the ones that people really talk about,
They'll be there.
They'll be there. Exactly.
You've
It's
got
like,
access.
it's like the ones that are like the ones that are inspiring the TV shows and the movies, and the ones that people keep going like, oh, All-Star Superman and The Killing
Dark
Joke.
Knight
It's
Returns.
like those ones are Dark Knight Returns. It's like you don't need the obscure comic books that are bad and you don't remember from weird periods of DC history.
There's
You know what I mean?
82 annuals you don't need to touch.
Yes,
Don't worry about it.
exactly. And look, the same is true with, and I'm not dogging on DC Comics, the same is true with Marvel. They have Marvel Unlimited. Not everything is on there, and that's okay.
Because there's still 17,000 books to keep you busy.
You're not going to read all in a week anyway.
Exactly. I've been doing a thing where I've been trying to read every comic book from the Infinity Gauntlet miniseries, all the tie-ins. A bunch of those are not on Marvel Unlimited. I'm having to like track them down and find them in other ways and stuff. And they're also, a lot of them bad. So it's like, that's why Marvel Unlimited is not, it's like they're going to give you Infinity Gauntlet because that shit's good. But it's this thing of like, I feel like there's also a side of that with the movie and TV show and cartoon projects that DC has access to. This is a curated list. And if you throw that image back up there, like a lot of that stuff is good stuff. Yeah, you got the things like Birds of Prey. I'm curious. I'm going to rewatch that
rewatch
season
the
of
shit out of
television.
that.
Like,
also, Batman Beyond from the jump. Like, I can't wait to rewatch because I don't remember the early stuff. I only catch it when I can.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to experience that again.
Even the original Wonder Woman TV series.
And is that Static Shock up there too?
Yeah,
right under
Static
Batman.
Shock. Yeah.
The original Wonder Woman TV series is something I've been revisiting on my own with Netflix through the mail on DVD, TV, and like just like last year, I rewatched the John Wesley Shipp Flash show.
Yeah.
They're great, but it's going to be awesome that they're on there. I've never seen Constantine. I'm excited about that. I want to
like the first
rewatch
season.
Lois and Clark. Like even with all of this content,
Yeah.
it's already more than people need. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it's already more. And then they'll
can't
probably
possibly.
add
I know.
Smallville. They'll probably that's
Right?
like 10 seasons of that. It's like, dear
Exactly.
God, like
and it's probably not the last 3 months of comics, like the most recent 3 months, because
Yes.
people buy comics.
Yes.
And you don't want people to be being able to read it digitally for one price when they're like $3 or $4 each to keep them alive.
Yeah.
Like
Correct.
comics are such a dying market, and like local comic stores are dying by the dozen. Like
Yeah.
you look at the maps of comic stores from even like
Yeah.
last year. If you look at like old caches of internet websites, you look at that local comic day,
Yeah.
or you look at that free comic day, the local shops. That list gets shorter every day. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, the more they keep new comics off it, so people actually access floppies or buy trades, like it sucks because that means there isn't a universal like here's this for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we would lose comic books like as an
Yes.
entity, and that's so important to me.
Yeah, that's what
And-
the Marvel Unlimited app does, right? They delay it by
think
3
it's
months.
6
Yeah,
months,
6 months?
absolutely.
Yeah.
6 months, and that again, that's fine. It's like there's too much stuff. There's too
Yeah.
much stuff. I also think that this sort of idea of this being curated, it reminded me today of like the NES Classic and the SNES Classic. Those little things, you know, like people are like, Hector, why don't you just get an emulator where you can get every Nintendo game ever, you know, or like we have on that arcade machine back there. And I'm like, look, man, I don't want every Nintendo game ever. Most of them are bad. I want the 30 ones that Nintendo wants me to remember from the 80s and 90s because they're good. It's specifically curated. That's already enough. I don't need everything. And this seems like a way to get people that normally wouldn't be into comics, which I think is really, really smart. And I want to talk about that. So you've got
Agreed.
the old movies in there, the old TV shows, and brilliantly, I think new content, new shows are what's
Yeah.
going to bring in audiences, right? We'll talk about Titans and Doom Patrol and Swamp Thing, and then new animation, along with returning animation. You got Young Justice, but also a Harley Quinn animated series. So super smart. So we're getting all these people that are into DC and it's fresh and they want the new stuff. Hey, if you like Young Justice, check out seasons 1 and 2.
Yep.
Check out Batman Beyond. Oh, I like Batman Beyond. Well, then here's like a Batman Beyond comic. Do you know what I mean? And it's like such a smart way to get people who normally are like, no, I don't know about comics, but they love all the DC movies and TV shows.
And it's
Yeah.
a great
it's
way
right
to
there.
test the source material. It's a great way to
Yes.
test, like,
100%.
hey, we're gonna put this out for 6 months, see if people
Yes.
vibe with it. Then Marvel, like the Deadpool issue that came out 2 weeks before the movie dropped was him and Juggernaut on the cover, and that wasn't
Yeah.
officially canon, but there's always that tease, and I think with this, that gives the opportunity to digitally do that all the time.
Yeah.
If Batman Beyond is the most watched thing, we'll finally get a Batman Beyond movie. Like they can see
Yeah.
what the people want by way of the algorithm.
Live action series on their streaming platform, that'd be amazing.
Can you imagine like a
Agreed.
Wachowski flavored like Robbie Amell as Terry McGinnis, just like shaping a Batman Beyond
That'd be
universe?
so cool.
You bring
Oh,
like you
man.
get Christian Bale as Old Man Wayne. Like
That'd be
I just
awesome.
like just there's so many opportunities
I
like
like
that.
that.
That will never happen. Christian Bale will
No,
be back, but
no.
Right.
like you can make these shows that people have wanted.
Plus, because it's a digital platform, like a digital app, there's ways where you can literally create, like on YouTube, you have end cards that point to different things.
Yeah.
Literally have it at the end of the episode. If you enjoyed this episode of Batman Beyond, here's a comic book that features these characters. Go read it.
I
And it
love
just
that.
kicks you over to the comic book section.
Guys, can I tell you something?
Yeah. You love DC?
I may have, I
What happened?
don't know if I can say, I probably can't say anything. I may have seen
The app?
a version of what we're discussing, and you may or may not be onto something. And it's
Cannot
it's
confirm
like,
nor deny.
I cannot.
Someone
confirm or
hire me,
deny,
please.
But I can say that, like, when I may or may not have seen the thing, I just wanted it to be like live. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so the reports are saying that it's probably going to be by the end of the year, by the the
Yeah,
back half
and
of
then-
2018.
Yes. And then in August, they're going to open up the beta,
Gotcha. That's right. In August, they're going to open up the
which
beta.
you should
and
sign up
then
for.
In 2019, they're going to add some other shows as well. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to come with all of those new shows.
It's only coming, I think it's only supposed to debut with Titans.
Okay.
And then next year, it'll have
Young Justice
Young
and
Justice
Doom
first.
Patrol.
And I think
Swamp
it'll be
Thing.
basically in the order they announced them in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is just great. It's
And we got to
like-
give them
yeah.
credit for this being so innovative. Like this is
Yeah.
so smart. This is the only thing I've ever heard of tying in comics to the same digital platform as TV and movies, and we're consuming all these things like that. So it's
Yes.
amazing that it's one button now. You have one app you click
Yeah.
on, your whole thing's there. And I was thinking about all the DC shows. It's the first time with how good Marvel's content is and how good DC's TV content is and all these things. It's the first time it feels like when you walked into a comic store in the 90s and you had a spinner rack.
Yeah.
Netflix feels like a spinner rack
Yeah.
now. How
Yeah.
great is
This
that
is
you can
DC
like
spinner rack.
yeah, you can
Yes.
just go into
Yeah.
like that comic of the section of the comic store, but it's digital and it's in your hand or on your screen, and it's just like a spinner rack for all
Yep.
of this content.
Yeah.
I think also something that could be cool with like the movies and the TV shows to have like not necessarily an after show, but kind of like what WGN does, like what Makuga does, where they do like little behind the scenes discussions about the movie.
Retrospectives,
And have,
absolutely.
Like, have like younger audiences, so the younger audiences that are hopefully going to be on that platform can connect with those people.
Yeah.
and talk a little bit about the history of like making Batman 89,
Yes.
making Batman Beyond, making the original Flash TV series.
Totally.
Do some
They could
interviews
do
with
that.
John Wesley Shipp, like do a little reunion stuff, like really make
That'd
it
be
feel
great.
super interactive and make it feel super personal to the audience.
Yeah.
And I think you'll have a winning platform. I think if you just dump content on there, I think it'll be cool, but
on top of
I think
that,
you need to make it a little more
They
personal.
did say also that they're having a fan/community forum
Yes.
for fans to connect,
Yes.
right? You're able to purchase exclusive merch.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to get those Justice League action figures.
Those
Yeah.
action
Because
figures
I,
were
already-
dope.
Yeah.
'cause I already have a bunch of the Batman animated series action
Yeah.
figures, and it's like, oh yeah, that's what I've been waiting for is the Justice League ones. So that's really smart that they put that
Yeah.
on there because I'm like, yeah, I'm already gonna get this thing, but like I'm gonna get those action figures through this fucking service. Like I for sure will.
And someone mentioned
Yeah.
it in the chat room before. I think it would be smart if they, once they roll out the price, to give people like a 30-day trial.
Oh, for sure. That
I think you
yeah,
have to.
That's really smart.
And then
That's
do
really
it with
smart.
like, and maybe put on like just the pilot of Titans, and that's it.
For the
and then
30-day free trial?
Yeah, and then after
Yeah.
that 30 days, launch the whole show.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I think there's ways to do it.
they also described like a new innovative way to experience comics that's going to have like
Yeah.
added like sound effects and like
Which
motion
I'm
or
all
whatever it is.
about.
Like
Comixology's version is
Yes.
great. I love the
Yes.
cinematic feel of like reading old comics. So I have this weird thing where I collect. I've got far too many comics, but I don't read the digital until I own the copy. So like a lot of the '60s Spider-Man, I'm only 48 issues away from every Spider-Man ever been in print, but I haven't read those 48 in digital.
Coy, do you have an Amazing Fantasy 15?
It's one of the 48. I have a number 14 and I have a number 21. I have so it starts early. Like it's not like the first.
Wow.
Like I have a
Yeah.
collection. Weirdly, I'm missing like 135, which is the second Punisher, and it's haunted me. But most of mine are in that first 100. But I haven't read them until I own them, and then I read the digital. But I love that Comixology allows you to like have the cinematic feel, so they're safely bag and board and never touched, and they won't
Yeah.
feel the air again.
Yep.
But I can experience like the cinematic version of reading it.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for DC to have that because there's a lot of stuff I'd never get access to, and I'm at like 37 long boxes, so I'm not going to be able to
Wow.
like buy. I'm running out of physical space on the
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah.
So like this gives me the opportunity to enjoy these books that people
Yeah.
have talked about that I missed
Yes.
in my absence of DC.
There was
Yeah.
a company that was contracted out by DC to do digital comics, and it had a little bit of that flavor where they were adding a lot of visual elements and like motion. I forget what the company is called because I was going to do work for them.
Do you remember back when we were down in San Diego? I think I did a test for like a 3D comic book to be viewed on like a 3D monitor to have people that see comic books digitally on their computer. There's also 3D computer monitors so people can watch like 3D movies on their computer monitors. And I did like a comic book test thing as well, and it was something that they pitched super early on, and somebody from like Legend came back to me and they're like, well, they said it's too early. Like we have talked about pitching this to comic book companies. It's tough with motion graphics comics things because even DC specifically, they've kind of tried to make a go at it before. It didn't really catch on. When you pitch that to people that don't read comic books, they look at it and go, well, why isn't that just fully animated?
Right.
It's
Why is it
like,
just
it's
an
like,
animated movie?
It's like a 0.5 of a cartoon. And it's like,
Yeah.
you have to explain like, yes, but it's more enhanced than a comic. And
Right.
they're like, well, I don't give a shit. I don't read comics. So it's like a tough sell for people that
Yeah.
already are like kind of not into comics. It's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out.
What I would lean into is the ability to show people how to read comics. Whenever I have a
Yes.
friend that doesn't know how to read comics, I whip open Comixology and I go, just press here, and it slides
Does
for
it
them.
for
It
you.
gives
Yep.
you the speech bubble. It gives you when you're supposed to be reading in their head.
Yep.
And this can give you an opportunity to reach out to new people that don't know comics. And I think that's the goal. I think that's what
Yeah.
this DC app can be
Yeah.
is all the newbies. Like you can be like, here's where to read this. Here's what references. Like you're saying that in panel. Like this is perfect.
Yeah.
Do you guys think Marvel will do something like this?
I think there's already gotten the. I think they're farther along.
I think if it will be, it'll be part of
You
the
really?
Disney app.
yeah.
Ooh, part of the Disney
I
app?
think when the Disney app drops, they're going to have something really similar to this because
Oh.
all of the shows, Netflix has been getting Marvel movies for 2 or 3 months and then pulling them.
Yes.
And I think they're
A lot of Disney
very
movies like that, yeah.
it's very on purpose that there are certain ones they're coveting and keeping close to the vest, and they did
Yeah.
that like Disney Vault thing.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think that whole vault is going to be that app, and then I think there's going to be the Marvel subsidiary, and I
Yeah.
think they're going to be some comics. I think DC's done a better job from the start, and I think that Marvel's going to start reflecting that. I feel like it's going to be like a game of catch up on Marvel's
Yeah.
part,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
feels
yeah.
great, to be honest. Like this feels like that D23 slate when
Right.
Marvel came out and they were like, "What up?
Here's
Yeah.
the
This
next
is
5
the
years.
DC.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the DC version of like play catch up now.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
cool because I think Marvel's going to do something similar.
Yeah. for sure.
And I'm not opposed to it because like you were saying earlier, Coy, this is how we absorb this content now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm already looking for this stuff on my own. I'm already, I'm sitting here reading Marvel Star Wars comics, and I love my Star Wars stuff. If everything Star Wars was in one place,
Yeah.
movies, cartoon shows, and comics, and like books or whatever, like that would probably, like Kindle books, that would probably be the future
Come on,
of
Disney
Star
app,
Wars. at
make
some
it
point.
happen.
I mean, yeah, and we're in the early stages of that. Eventually, TV channels as we know them will go away, and everything
Yeah.
will turn into sort of like brands.
Yep.
Like, and you will be paying
Your
for
favorite
individual
brands.
brands. Yeah, it's like, oh, I pay $20 a month for Disney. I pay $15 a month for Warner Brothers and DC. I pay, and that's what it's going to turn into.
Do you remember pop-up video on VH1?
Yeah.
Do you remember when DVDs tried to do that? When
Yes.
DVDs had those like special features you could have on the bottom or side of your screen.
Absolutely.
I think what
yeah.
they could do with this is have
Yeah.
that playing and have the comic be a thing that you can be like, click here to read what this is a reference
Yes.
of. Or at the end have a collection of all the imagery. Because
Yeah.
I loved that in Amazing Spider-Man 2, which gets maligned in a lot of ways.
Sure.
The 121 on the clock.
Yes.
Only certain people would ever recognize. But if you had that like pop-up image, then you can dive into that reference and it makes the whole
Spider-Man
experience.
Homecoming is Spider-Man number 33.
The
when he's
33,
lifting the
that-
thing.
my
You know,
favorite
and it's
cover of
like,
all
yeah,
time.
You could be watching Spider-Man Homecoming and it'll be like, boop, pop-up video fact. Hey,
Yeah.
this is from this comic book. Did you want to save this to your queue? Oh, yeah, I want to check that out.
Amazon does that. When you watch an
Yeah.
Amazon movie, it has like a bunch of trivia and stuff
Yeah.
that you can just like hover over and it shows you stuff. So to have that, like even for any DC movie, if it's BVS, The Dark Knight, Death of Superman, or Dark Knight
Batman
Returns.
66.
Yeah, I mean,
And
there's
reading
opportunities are
IMDb
endless.
trivia when you're watching stuff. Like I love
Yeah.
reading, like
Oh,
watching The
man.
Dark Knight and reading about the Joker's makeup process, or
Yeah.
watching
Yeah.
Christian
I
Bale. Like
love
all of
that.
that is so much fun to do,
It needs
especially
to
if
have
you've seen it a
special
bunch of times.
features. If
Because
it doesn't,
when it
come
comes to these things, DC, Marvel, Star Wars, Disney, whatever brands that we love, like we're going to be rewatching these things. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm watching Spider-Man 2 for the first time and it's like, oh, but I want it with facts. No. I'll be watching Spider-Man 2 for the 20th time in my life, and then I'll want it with those facts.
And
So,
maybe there's facts of these 90 shows we don't know. And that's
Yeah,
what's cool.
that's
is they
what
they
is
have
cool.
the vault. They have this information. Maybe they have stuff we'll never experience. Interviews we've
I
never
could
seen.
tell you right now, you've watched the John Wesley Shipp Flash show, the pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Pop-up facts could be like, the writers from the CW show pulled this character name, and it shows up later, and you're like, oh, that's cool. Like,
Yeah.
they could totally do that.
And
it
maybe
just
we'll
adds
finally get
replay
behind the
value.
scenes on Joker, because man, that 10-year anniversary of The Dark Knight came out, and I was
Yeah.
like, now we see what Heath was prepared. No, like we've
Yeah.
seen images of the Joker journal, but never the journal. We've seen like all these pieces.
Sure.
If they have this DC app, then they could actually do a digital version of all these things that we've always wanted.
Yeah, they could put
DC, y'all just need to
Suicide.
hire us.
I'm just
have
saying, we
all
got
the
some ideas.
They could put Suicide
Come
Squad
on.
on there, and they could be like, "Do you want to see the used condom that Jared Leto sent to his?" And you're like, "No, I
We'll
don't."
ship you a copy. What?
Click
It's like
on
a
it. Here's
crime
the dead
photo.
mouse. You're like,
It's like a white outline of a crime photo with a little yellow.
Yeah, don't want to see this. Here's the used condom that Jared Leto. Boop. No, I don't want to see
The other
that.
thing too is like they said there's gonna be a breaking news section, which is like
Yeah.
when originally I found out about DC All Access happening a few years back. I'm like this is what that show should be. Why
Yeah.
is the Hollywood Reporter getting exclusives? Give us
Right.
a DC All Access. This is an opportunity. Make it a part of this platform.
So
Bring
that
on
they
people like
control
us.
the narrative.
Exactly. So they can control the narrative, have people like us come on there, talk about these things. Even if it's like a weekly show, like the Star Wars show is a perfect example. It covers the movies, the comics, upcoming TV shows, everything. It interviews people from the entire industry, not just people from DC, to get a real sort of well-rounded perspective on how people feel about the brand and the characters and all that stuff. It's such a good idea. Why not do it? So I hope that's what that is.
And then your quotes aren't misinterpreted because people at Hollywood Reporter might not know
Yep.
the character as well. You might
Yeah.
infer something completely wrong. How many news
Yep.
stories have we read where it's just been like, someone said this, and they're like, well, this obviously means skirt, and everyone that
Yeah.
reads
Yep.
comics is like, that's no.
Yep.
So if you control the narrative
Or
and
the
make
people
that the
that read
show,
comics go, wait, does that mean this? And the
And
Hollywood
the-
Reporter doesn't know the fucking difference between Kyle Rayner and Alan Scott. You know what I mean?
Right,
They're like,
exactly.
oh, we don't know, it's just a Green
Okay,
Lantern.
so I don't
And we're
know.
like, but which one? Like, it's important.
yeah,
So-
and it changes everything. So if
Yeah.
you control the show, and that's right there at their fingertips.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh man,
I want it so
I
bad.
can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited.
I think
about
we
it.
I think we really like psyched ourselves up for this thing. We really did. Yeah.
There was an article, I think it was like on IGN or something, talking about things that may not appear. You know, mentioning that there's no mention of Superman the animated series. I think eventually all that stuff will pop up.
Sure.
You know, there was no in the trailer itself. There's no preview of any of the DCEU movies, the Dark Knight trilogy, but it's listed on websites. So I think you just gotta wait, be patient. I think the thing I'm most interested in, I think most people are interested in, is what's the price going to be, and when will it be available in other territories other than the United States?
What do you guys think the price is going to be? And what would you be okay with?
I'd be okay with anything up to $10.
Up to $10. Okay.
I
Coy?
feel like it's going to be a little higher than 10, and I think it's going to bother a lot of people. And then
$14.99
I was thinking
maybe.
like $12.99, so it's
Yeah.
just over the 10. And then I think
Yeah.
they're going to have a lot of sales. I think they're going to do the thing where they're like, it's 13, but if you get in the first 6 months, it's $9.99. And I think they're
could
going to
do
like
that.
leverage the
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah,
That's true.
because they are going to have comics on there, but again, not like current comics, but it's not all the comics. But
Right.
it's like a specifically curated list, and then you've got the movies, the TV shows, and the new stuff, and Yeah, I feel like for them to play it really, really safe, they could come out with a $10 price tag and everybody would be happy.
Yeah.
I feel like people would understand that because it's more than just the CBS All Access app is like, here's all your favorite CBS shows and all the shows that your parents watch, plus a new season of a new Star Trek show, $5.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, okay, fine, $5 for that. But if they were to charge 10, they could say, well, we're more than just like, TV and movies. We're
Right.
giving you comics, and we're trying to give you the whole
Merchandise, giveaways,
merchandise, right? So it's like the whole
shows,
DC experience, $10, and people will be like, all right, it's kind of like Netflix. Okay, fine.
And because it is more than Netflix.
Yes.
This is like I pay for Comixology, I pay for certain unlimited
Right.
comic apps, I pay for all these things, and
Yeah.
this is all of those in one place. So as long as there's enough of each thing,
Yeah.
then it's worthwhile. And I love that at this point, these two companies own so much different types of media
Yeah.
that it's time to have apps that represent the different types of media.
Totally.
So if you're going to advertise it that way, like this trailer did, then you can charge a little bit more. I don't think they should outprice themselves by going above 10, but I think having sales and keeping it under 10, but with that creative phrasing.
Yeah.
I think if you do $19.99, people are gonna not.
Oh, $20 a month? No.
Yeah,
Too
that's up
much.
there.
Too
For
much.
for effectively a few new shows and really only one show to begin with,
Yeah.
one or two new shows to begin with,
Yeah.
and all the old stuff, people will be like, well, I'll keep Netflix or whatever. They really, I think, like $5 to $10 would probably be real smart a month.
yeah.
I don't know.
Keeping on the trend of DC, we got our first look at Barbara Minerva in Wonder Woman 1984. Kristen Wiig, yeah, that's right. I mean, it's very early. Look, I'm actually really impressed that this Wonder Woman movie is giving us anything at this point.
Yes.
It's a year and a half away from the release.
Controlling the narrative,
Yeah.
folks.
We
Controlling
don't even
the
have a photo
narrative.
of Shazam yet officially.
You're right.
And that
Yeah.
movie
Oh,
comes
wow.
out in April.
Yeah.
What the fuck? But it's cool. I mean, I'm glad we got a first look at Kristen Wiig. I'm a huge fan. I think most of us are. I can't wait to see what they do with this character. Cheetah, for me, like the most exposure I have to that character is from animated stuff.
Yes.
Particularly
There
Super
she
Friends.
is.
Yep, there she is.
Yeah.
Very different design than what I'm used to, but yeah.
And I think that Kristen Wiig appearing the way that she does makes perfect sense. When we all heard that she was going to be cast, it was like, okay, this is going to be the version of the character who starts out as kind of a meek, a meek female doctor of some kind, archaeologist, whatever. Like that's how that character has been in comics when she's been mixed up in Wonder Woman's story.
Yeah.
And her and Diana have become friends, and they've really tried to make her like the Harvey Dent to her Bruce Wayne, where they are friends. And it's a tragic story that Diana loses her to the side of, well, now she's Cheetah, and she becomes this feral creature and kind of loses her friend to that. Is something that they've added, I think, since the '80s. Is kind of when I think they revamped when like George Perez.
1985, I think, yeah.
85 when DC like revamped Wonder Woman's origin story and brought in Barbara Ann Minerva that early. That's kind of how she was played. So when Kristen Wiig was announced, I wasn't like, what? That doesn't make sense because she doesn't look like the comic book character. I was like, oh, she's the Barbara Ann Minerva, like the meek character with the big glasses and like the and who might kind of have a bit of a dark side, and then she will eventually turn into. I'm not worried about the superhero stuff, is what I'm saying. Like the movies these days, it's like, okay, we've got the special effects covered, the stunt people are going to cover it.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about like she can't fight Gal Gadot. It's like she's not gonna fight. It's a movie. Like
Yeah, they'll cut immediately to someone
Exactly.
fighting, and that's
Yeah.
also not going to
Exactly.
be a Gal Gadot for
there
a while.
might be prosthetics, CG, makeup, whatever. However they're gonna make the cheetah work, it's gonna be badass. It's gonna look cool. Really, fingers crossed. I think they may have learned some lessons from Ares. We'll see. But like, what I'm excited is that the Barbara aspect of the character perfectly cast with Kristen Wiig, and that picture for me like solidified it, and I was like, yeah, excited.
I love that they're, as we keep saying, like controlling the narrative because the paparazzi is so crazy about this movie.
Yes.
I love
Yep.
that we saw Steve Trevor officially
Yeah.
Yes.
2 hours before those photos
Yes.
leaked.
Yep.
Because you look at anything with the bad lighting or just walking down the street, no costume looks good when you're like half under a black tarp trying to walk through.
hide.
Like no one's gonna.
Yep.
That's not positive. So if you have this look all frumpy because we know the character choice, if they'd just shown her walking down the street like that, thousands of people like, why is she Cheetah? That's not Cheetah. Blah
Yep.
blah. But we know the character, so you controlled the frumpy with the lighting and her being in a museum, and you make that an image that explains the story instead of just. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate that they did that for us because so many people are so against this casting choice. I think it's great if you've seen like Welcome to Me or any of her more dramatic roles, or even looked at like Jim Carrey or Robin Williams or the history of these amazing comic actors doing
Yes.
drama, because comedy is about timing and drama. So
Yes.
I think that it's an amazing opportunity for Kristen Wiig to go, hey, I'm so good at this. Here's a giant platform for me.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. A lot of people mentioning in the chat too, Shazam is another example of like, They haven't put out an official photo. There was the one picture of him with that drink.
Yeah,
and that
from the
was
side.
from that
Yeah,
was
that,
from a
like,
convention. So it's like a whole skewed photo. I'm like, why couldn't you do something like this where you just release a picture of Zachary Levi on the set, just one photo in the costume, all CG'd up, just making it look cool or whatever, and then just be done with it. And nobody has to speculate, and we don't have to keep looking at these like really shitty set photos that people keep taking from across the fence.
It's a bummer, yeah.
But it's a New Line movie, so I guess their approach is different. I don't know.
It reminds me of that Carl's Jr. ad with Quicksilver. Remember that?
No.
Yeah.
The first time we saw Quicksilver was
the
in
Carl's
like
Jr.
it was
ad.
he was like taking a bite and we were
right.
all like, what have
is
they
this
done?
movie?
And then we all were. I mean, I was mad.
And then
the
Days of Future
character
Past
stole the
comes out,
movie.
and he steals the movie.
And like
Yeah.
they missed an opportunity to at least give us an image, give us something that would prepare us for that look. And then that Pink Floyd didn't even work in the trailer,
Yeah.
but then it nailed it in the movie so well.
Yeah.
So like this to me
And
feels
then
like
anytime
Shazam
like
coulda-
a Lego set gets leaked, and it's like, oh
Right.
shit, there's the third act of a superhero movie, and it's
Yeah.
and you feel bad because the people that are in charge, like the people at Carl's Jr., they don't fucking know. They
No.
don't know that like
Yeah.
that
They're
Quicksilver
not being
hasn't been
told.
released yet. They're putting out their product, and Lego people are pictures get leaked because they're like, oh, I'm a toy person or whatever.
Yeah.
And I always feel so bad for people working on the films when something like that happens. I felt so bad when like the Giant Man reveal from Captain America: Civil War got spoiled from like a Funko Pop or
Yeah.
something. Like I was just like, damn it. And of course, people like us and people like people that are watching right now are all over that stuff, so they knew regular people aren't going to see that. Regular audiences are not going to see a Funko Pop and know like.
they'll just think it's a bigger Funko Pop.
Yeah, they're just like, oh, okay, that's Ant-Man.
A
Like,
little bigger than usual.
for sure.
Okay,
But
sure.
I always feel so bad when that happens because I immediately go to like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I hope nobody got fired. I hope like.
And the millions of dollars of secrecy, like the director going out of their way to like, we gotta hide this, we gotta make sure, we gotta do all these things. Ooh,
And sometimes those
toy.
photos aren't impressive. We all remember the Suicide Squad movie lineup.
Right.
But they
Again,
they
to avoid paparazzi.
To avoid paparazzi, but they did all that, and it wasn't super ideal, but it was a thing where at least they controlled the narrative themselves. We remember the X-Men First Class
Yeah,
photos
holy
of like
crap.
their weird like lighting, and everyone was like, "What are those suits?" And in the movie, looks great. Like
And
it's
great, yeah.
Justice League keeping Superman out as long as they did was impressive.
Yeah.
And then it felt like out of place because that was the one time we were like, we know he's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like all the billboards were like, Superman's not here.
yes,
We know
will
he's
be.
moving. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
yeah,
like, it was-
it's
that
After
was
it comes
rough.
out, they keep like retroactively going back and re-releasing
They like
them with
put him in a
Superman.
poster, and
Alright.
that was an interesting move because I loved the idea that, and we also will never know what the Zack Snyder version was going to be and how long into the movie and all that stuff. But it was
Yeah.
definitely interesting to be in a position of being on the other side of that. I'm always defending like, good, keep it a secret, and then that
Yeah.
one time I was like, well,
I
know, man.
yeah. So I can't imagine being in the press or being in ads and
Yeah.
trying to figure out like what the line is you're trying to cross.
We worked on Star Trek Into Darkness, and I hated that I knew that it was Khan before
You
it
guys
was
did
revealed.
press on.
No, not press, like visual effects.
Yeah.
Adam
Oh,
and
I
I
had
worked
no
on
idea.
visual effects. Yeah, we did the 3 conversion.
You know, I was a Nibirin, right?
No, what is that?
You know the white aliens in the opening? I was a
Oh,
few
that's-
hundred of those guys.
Oh, cool.
really?
You guys might have worked on shots.
we made you 3D.
That's
That's
hilarious.
amazing.
That's so cool.
There were
amazing.
7 to 12 of us, depending on the day, that
Multiplied.
turned into hundreds of us.
Yeah.
And I was the guy
So
with like
cool.
the baby.
Wow.
Jeremy.
You
the
were
main
the guy with the baby?
That was Jeremy was the main guy, and I was his like other guy.
Yeah,
so I was
yeah.
one of the two with the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's amazing.
That is so
That's
cool.
So I
funny.
had no idea. You guys.
So we turned you into 3D.
Thank you for 3Ding and multiplying me. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
You saw it
but
live,
like-
folks. That just blew my
But
mind.
we worked on that movie at the same time as Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
We learned that the Mandarin wasn't really the Mandarin, and he was like Ben Kingsley actor, and I loved it because when I saw again working on the movie in pre-production, I was so happy because I was like, yes, cool. People are not going to see this coming. It is avoiding that racist Asian stereotype trope that like the comic books have, right? This Ben Kingsley version is already kind of different, and this is going to be so fun and so funny. The flip side of that was the Star Trek reveal where I'm like, no, he's Khan. This is a bad call. You miscast the actor. Benedict Cumberbatch did a great job, but like you miscast the actor, and all of the press for that was lying and going, no, he's not Khan. He's not
Yeah.
Khan. He's this new character, John Harrison. For the movie to come out and he goes, my name is Khan. And I'm like, you guys lied to us.
There's
Like,
there's
it
misleading
sucks.
and lying.
It
Yeah.
sucks.
And his jacket was Khan's jacket.
Yeah,
Like
yes.
on set, like,
course.
hey, that's Khan.
Exactly.
Like, and like when the photos leaked, they were like, Khan.
Yeah, and it was a bummer because it felt like the people that made that movie, that Star Trek movie, were afraid to embrace that because they thought that this character was kind of bigger, I guess, in their heads than he is. It was kind of like It felt like the same reason they didn't do the Joker in Batman Begins. It's like, well, we got to save him, and we got, the Joker is this big, larger-than-life character, so they probably felt like that about Khan, but it was this missed opportunity. Meanwhile, Marvel was like, let's take this opportunity to do a twist that people are not going to see coming.
Yeah.
And they've done pretty good. Nobody saw Red Skull coming in Infinity War.
I love
Do you know what I
that.
mean? Like,
Love
they're
that.
pretty good at keeping certain secrets that, again, are not like make or break. Sort of like when you're doing press, it's like, okay, well, this actor's definitely in this movie, right? And they're
Right.
like, we don't know. He died at the end of the last one. It's like, yeah, but come on. Like, you hinted that he was going to come back. The rocks floated. So it's this tough thing of like, I don't remember what the trailers were like for Return of the Jedi. Was Han Solo in those trailers? He had to have been, right? He was.
Harrison
He
Ford's
had to
too
have
big
been.
of a sell to
So
not
it's like,
Right.
did that ruin the twist of like, oh, is he still going to be frozen in carbonite? We've been waiting for 3 years. I don't know. There was no internet back then. We'll never know.
Yeah.
People did not dissect that. All we will remember now is the movie itself. And like ultimately all we will remember is the movie Justice League and Star Trek Into Darkness and Iron Man 3 and all these movies that had these kind of twists. We'll just remember the movie going forward, but it's so weird to be in this like the movie hasn't come out yet phase.
Overanalyzing,
Yeah,
putting it
it's
together.
weird.
I remember watching Age of Ultron and just being like, I've seen this already. I'm just putting the scenes together in between the trailer scenes. Like that was a
Yeah.
weird experience
Yeah.
being like, how does this feel like nostalgia? It's opening day.
Yeah.
And like what I liked about Suicide Squad was the Batman stuff we knew, but we didn't know the context. So I really enjoyed Batman stuff in Suicide Squad because they did a good job advertising, accepting it isn't there because the photos leaked of that beautiful car.
Great.
So
So
we
you-
knew
yeah,
he was
Batman's
there.
in it, yeah.
But we didn't know in what context. We didn't know how much he was in there. So I thought like, say what you will about Suicide Squad, but the amount of leverage they kept Batman in that movie I thought was brilliant. So I really liked that they kept that, but it's so hard with the amount of people like nitpicking like for a living, like so many networks just dive into paparazzi stuff, and I love learning, but it's rough for the other
Yeah,
side.
that's
Yeah.
why we don't cover a lot of like set photos. People always like, oh,
I try to
this set
avoid it.
picture came up. I'm like, I don't
It's
care.
like, yeah, that was
Whatever.
Yeah.
Give me a trailer or like let the studio release an official photo.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about it. But other than that, like set videos and set photos, it's all out of context. You have no
Yeah.
idea what's going on.
It's a bummer.
And I stop before TV spots. I do trailers
with
and then
us.
TV spots I don't dive into because
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
usually just like, here's the movie.
Spoiler
Yeah.
territory. Like I went back and I rewatched a lot of Infinity War TV spots. I'm like,
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah.
God, I avoided all of these.
They're basically showing Thanos do this. Like
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
I
you're
don't
like,
like
well,
it.
no.
There's
Yeah.
one that shows Thor, Groot, and Rocket. I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't watch this TV spot. Holy
yeah.
shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, that's the internet for
There
you.
you go.
Next topic we're going to talk about, oh man, I don't know how to feel about this. Speaking of Suicide
I
Squad
do.
and Jared Leto, Jared Leto has officially been cast as Michael Morbius in a Morbius spin-off film, which is going to be made by Sony.
Has he officially been cast?
He
Officially,
tweeted
yeah.
out a cover of Morbius
Oh,
by Night.
yep.
Yeah.
Brother.
Yep.
All right.
With a black heart, and I was like, well, that's a branding choice.
So the Joker is going into the Marvel Universe. He's going to
Yeah.
be playing the living vampire, Morbius. Yeah, I don't know. Jared Leto, Academy Award-winning actor. He's great in a lot of the other movies that I've seen him in. Joker. A lot of people argue there wasn't enough Joker to really have a decent opinion about the performance because he's not in it enough. I wasn't that crazy about it. I don't know too much about Michael Morbius other than what I remember seeing in the Spider-Man cartoon series.
He doesn't have
So-
suckers on his hands always.
Oh, well,
That's a choice
that's
they
always
make
fun.
sometimes.
Sometimes.
He couldn't say blood. He had to say plasma.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They had to use the
I
word
don't know
plasma because he could never be like, I want to suck your blood. I need blood to live because it was too violent.
Right.
So
Yep.
he'd be like, plasma.
And there was no
Need your
punching.
plasma.
There was no punching, so they added the sucker, so it wasn't like the active bite.
Oh,
It's
yes,
that
no
cartoon
biting.
made a lot of.
Yeah.
They had to wiggle.
Ugh.
They had to wiggle a lot.
Oh, man.
Ooh, boy.
Punisher's laser guns because he couldn't
Yeah.
have guns. Yeah.
No,
that-
oh, yeah, that's right.
He had those oversized Rob Liefeld
Yup,
cannons.
That's right. Oh, shit. Now I'm remembering all these things.
So
yeah,
here's
I
the
don't
deal
know.
about this.
Let's hear it, Hector.
If this movie was set in the MCU and it was a spin-off after Michael Morbius shows up in a Spider-Man centric movie, I would be down. Because if the question is, does the character of Michael Morbius, is he worthy of having a solo story? The answer is, yeah, honestly, absolutely. If with the right writer, with the right script, sure. Michael Morbius could be a very interesting take on the vampire genre, especially because he is in the middle of the superhero comic book world, especially because he does know Blade, and let's get back to that Blade. You know what I mean? Let's get to that supernatural side of the Marvel Universe. We haven't kind of been there in a while.
Yeah.
Ghost Rider appearing in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was like a little tease of that, right? So I'm all for that. The problem is that this feels like this is another Sony attempt to make these movies work without Spider-Man because they feel like they have a Spider-Man universe and they're not aware that Spider-Man is part of a universe already. Spider-Man is part of the Marvel universe. you can't just do a Black Cat and Silver Sable movie on their own. You can't just do a Sinister Six movie on their own without having those kinds of seeds planted. I think it was a brilliant idea. You don't need this for every character, but it was a brilliant idea to bring in Spidey and Black Panther in Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
With the little screen time that they had, they stole the show, and it made audiences so excited for what was to come. You don't need that to go see Black Panther, but it was like awesome to have that context and to have that little... So... I think this is a bad idea. I'm not excited about this at all. It feels like Sony is trying to work around their contract with Marvel Studios and cut out the middleman and have their cake and eat it too and make money off of the thing that they own without trying to kind of put in the work, I guess. And after all of the goodwill and work that you've done to do the Tom Holland Spider-Man, my God, just keep working with Marvel Studios and keep making movies set in that world. I know you're super stoked about Venom.
Yeah.
I'm so curious to see how that pans out.
Man, because I've been the loudest cheerleader just
I
going
know,
like,
which is-
this is going to
because
end
it's
well
like-
or badly.
It's like, but Venom is such an interesting case, especially for Coy, because it's that perfect Venn diagram of like, you've talked about this before. You love Venom and you love Tom. And there it is, right? And there it is.
But it's also like I, as a Spider-Man fan, go, well, like, he's got a white spider in his chest.
Yes, and
what's
you're like,
that
where is that? Where is it? Where is it?
How is that? Like, I'm
Yes.
like, I'm just wondering where is that? If that shows up, how is that? If it doesn't
How
show
is
up,
that?
how do you explain that? There's a
And-
lot. But
And it's like Tom Hardy as an Eddie Brock playing Venom, such great casting. My God, I would love to see him versus Tom Holland, Peter Parker. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like it still feels like a little bit of that compromise.
And this one to me feels even not worse, but more chasing the dollar than Venom.
I will
To
say even
me,
worse.
this-
Yeah, I will
because
say
Venom
even
is
worse.
a guaranteed property. You make a Venom movie, like it has
give you that.
more views than all the Spider-Man trailers. The Venom trailer has more. Like that blew
crazy.
my mind.
Yep.
And that's because people are fiending for Venom. And
I get it.
Do you ever Todd McFarlane being like, I want Venom and Spawn to team up, and I was like, Todd McFarlane. It's just Todd McFarlane's still in 1996.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I just love that Venom has that opportunity, but Morbius isn't a character that people were lobbying for,
Correct.
except for in little corners. Like, it's not a character that is an instant sell. So for me, Jared Leto as Morbius does feel like Sony going like, but what if?
I know.
And like, I think the casting's funny only because Jared Leto doesn't age. Like Jared
Yeah.
Leto looks the same
It's
as he
fine.
did Requiem
I know.
for a Dream.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a weird move because of the association with how recently the Joker was. I have no problem with actors playing multiple roles.
Yeah, that's
But if they're trying to get the Jared Leto Joker moving forward in another movie and the Morbius movie at the same time, it just seems like a lot at once. And he is great in like Lord of War and the things like Fight Club and Requiem for a Dream, the things that are, this direction. So I believe he can be a leading vampire. Like I believe, like
Totally.
especially Blade Runner, that role is like so vampiric. But like I don't know if Sony can make a Morbius movie without it feeling like it's just cutting around Spider-Man.
Exactly. Cutting around. That's it. It's cutting around Spider-Man. I mean, like they announced a Silk movie.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. I love the character, but are they going to use the actress who played a character named Cindy in Peter Parker's high school in Spider-Man Homecoming? Sony's probably like, huh? We did that? They probably are not even aware that that's a little seed that was planted. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like, I don't want a Venom movie to star Tony Revolori, even though I love the guy, as Flash Thompson, because again, it's a little too early. Like I'm not saying that, but it's like if you're gonna do Silk, that seed was already planted there. You've got a young Asian actress who played a character named Cindy at Peter Parker's high school.
Right.
Is the Silk movie going to be set in the MCU, or is it going to be Sony trying to do their own thing off to the side?
And
if
how
you
do they
that,
explain
it's
the
like,
6 years if they're going to try to tie it in? Because she's like, that's such an important part of her character. She's got that Kimmy Schmidt thing.
Yes.
Like, and
Yeah.
that's the fun of the character is like rediscovering the world and trying
and
to cope.
opening up and being like sexually attracted to Peter Parker.
Oh,
with pheromones.
yeah, they can't do that
They
at
can't do
15-year-old
that.
kids. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I know, but it's exactly.
Because
Yes.
the character I love when Silk showed up and there was like Spider-Man is not usually, except with Black Cat, like a
Yeah.
sexual creature.
That's
like,
true.
You don't see that a lot. Like
That's true.
You have like Mary Jane's really pretty and stuff, but like
Yeah.
Black Cat's always like, oh, the other side of Peter Parker. And then Silk came along and you're like, whoa.
And they were like trying to
always
hook
going
up
at
all
it.
the time.
And that
Yeah.
was a really fun dynamic because it was different. But if you
Yes.
have a child Silk, come on, guys.
So
I
they
don't even have to
probably-
finish that sentence.
They probably wouldn't have that teen actress play this version of Silk, and that also means that they're cutting around Spider-Man again, and it's a bummer because they could have such an amazing.
I'm with
little-
Carlo
little
on this
corner.
one. I'm with Carlo on the.
We need a Spider-Man clone saga movie with Tom, Andrew, and Toby. Thank you
Oh,
for the
boy.
tip, by the way.
Here's the only thing I would accept: if in the movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse,
That's the way to do it.
they dip into different universes, and
Can't wait for that
and they
movie.
bring back Toby to voice a Spider-Man,
And then
Andrew
Andrew
to voice
a Spider-Man.
and that would make my heart so happy.
Because you could
I love
have
it.
the big head Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and you could have Toby be a little
Yeah.
bit more like his classic Sam Raimi
Yeah.
costume. Like you can make that because the comics into
And
Spider-Verse
just voice work.
Do you
yeah.
remember there was the two characters that were drawn as Andrew and Toby, and they
Yes.
called them just their first names? There's
Yes.
literally like in the Spider-Verse, there's panels of Toby Spider-Man, Andrew
Yes.
Spider-Man,
That's awesome.
and there's
And
that
some other
opportunity.
character said like, this guy looks like the guy from the Social Network Spider-Man, and this
And
guy
then
looks like
Seabiscuit.
Seabiscuit Spider-Man. That's what they called him. So it's like. That's
can
the only
play-
way I would be okay with it because that animated movie is already dipping into different universes, and I've heard that from people for so many years of like, bring back Toby and Andrew to play Spider-Man in different universes and connect them all as a multiverse, and I'm like, no,
Whoa,
thank you.
whoa. Yeah,
no,
that's-
thank you. But multiverse animated, yes, of course.
I'm
that'd
waiting
be
for an
great.
SNL skit of Toby as Uncle Ben. That's,
Yeah, right?
that's the way to have him like
Uh,
nod to the because he's like the
I would
right age
love it
for
if he did that.
Mistletoe Man.
I would
like,
love it if he did that. That'd be so funny, man. That'd be great. Yeah, so Morbius, not excited about it. Don't
The
care.
fact that I got distracted by
I
like a
know.
Tobey Maguire hope and
Right.
dream, like it's just like who's this for? Why? I mean, obviously it's for Sony, but I just don't know the market.
The talent listed also is like, yeah, really could be cool. Daniel Espinosa. What did Daniel
I
Espinosa
didn't see
direct?
Life. Did you guys see Life?
No,
It was
I
that
haven't.
Space movie with
Oh, I saw Life.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, was it good?
I kept
Jake
hoping it was a
Gyllenhaal,
Venom
Ryan Reynolds?
prequel,
Yeah.
because
Right,
that was the
so did
rumor.
everybody else.
And I enjoyed it, but it was definitely I couldn't fully embrace it because I kept waiting for it to be Venom. Like, I fully admit the whole time, like
Just Frank,
when
please,
when the
Venom.
credits rolled, I was like, I should have watched that without thinking of Venom the whole time. Like I don't honestly know if I enjoyed it because I was
That's
like, we
hilarious.
are life.
That's
And it's
hilarious.
gonna be written by the same writers who did the Lost in Space remake that's on Netflix right
Great.
now.
So I'm sure
That's-
they're very
yeah.
talented people, and again, I'm sure that like maybe their script or their idea or their pitch is all good. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that thing of like the real test is going to be how Venom pans out.
Right.
That's going to be
That's
the
going to
thing.
change everything with Sony.
It-
Like October is really
yes.
going to be like this
Yes.
amazing.
Because if it's a
Yep.
great standalone thing and Sony can prove like, look, we can do these without the character of Spider-Man, kind of let us do our own thing, let us experiment a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
If the movie is good enough, the same as Deadpool. Deadpool messing with any sort of X-Men continuity. Nobody gives a shit now because they're
Right.
like, oh, we got a new version of Juggernaut that's not Vinnie Jones in
Great.
Deadpool 2. Who cares?
He also
Great.
references both McAvoy and
Yes,
Star. Like
Stewart.
he
And
really.
so it's this element of like, who cares? Just give us a good movie.
Right.
But if it like doesn't do what it needs to do,
that
people are
movie
go-
can sink like ship
yes,
6 movies.
People are gonna go stop
Yeah.
and just focus on Tom Holland Spider-Man. And I guess Sony, stop being greedy and like share profits, but end with good product that will make you more money in the long run than trying to cut out the middleman if you guys have a profit sharing deal and try to do
Yeah.
your own thing because this is what could happen with that. I don't know.
And it's a shame because what I know of the Silver and Black script is amazing, and what I know
Yeah.
of the team behind it, like it had
Yes.
Ruthie Carter, like she just won or got nominated for Oscar. Like Black Panther, she's gonna get stuff. Like that
Yeah,
movie, like
for
she
sure.
designed a world. So that was the one time I was like, maybe someone can make a black cat suit
And
and not look
The
ridiculous.
director of that
Cloak and Dagger pilot.
did the Cloak and Dagger pilot,
Which is
was
incredible.
very, very good. So it's like she's a super talented woman. I want her to direct stuff. I
Yeah.
want that to happen, but I don't want Sony to create a thing that is cutting around Spider-Man.
And all the pieces of the puzzle can be great, but the puzzle
Yes.
can still not come together if you're missing pieces, i.e., Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yep.
So, like,
Exactly.
if you're missing all
Yeah.
of the edges, like, then that's what it feels like. That's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, in Venom, especially, like, I defend Venom a lot.
Yes.
And I have been a guy that will stand on that, and I will be crucified in October, or I will be like, he was right.
Yeah.
And I'm very afraid of October.
I like that, though.
But I think having strong opinions is better than, like, just going, like, maybe. And I think Venom, the pieces of the puzzle are really interesting.
Yeah.
And I thought the teaser, I liked the teaser more than the trailer. And I was like the only guy on the internet that was like cheering the teaser because I thought it was a bold choice to be like, hey, we just wrapped. Look at the tone.
Yeah.
It's this different thing.
Yeah.
And it's been really hard to be so loud a cheerleader on a property that is going to make or break an entire studio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
You
Sony's.
want to read that one out? Oh,
Yeah,
it just ran away.
it feels like Sony at this point is throwing darts at a Spidey universe characters and attempting to build a universe out of whatever they land on. Throwing
Yep.
darts. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Jada.
Thank you so much.
So a $10 tip.
Appreciate it. Yeah. To pretty kind of sum up what we're all kind of saying. So yeah.
Tom Holland also revealed the title of the sequel, Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be on vacation in Europe, which is pretty cool. We're going to Europe soon. That'll be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, we
You
are.
guys are going to be far from home?
Yeah,
we
in
are.
October actually. you
It's gonna be hyper RPG.
You want to be here for
Far
my
From Home.
crucifixion?
have to live stream it on the internet. So we
Guys,
can
I
watch
just
it.
saw Venom and I'm leaving the country.
When does Venom come out?
I think right around Halloween. It's like mid to late October.
I don't know if we'll actually be back for it. We might have
We
to
might
watch
not.
it.
We might have to. That'd be kind of dope.
That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, that's
Be in
cool.
like a cool foreign country
Yeah.
looking at Venom and
Watching
like,
Venom.
yeah.
Ah, it's okay.
There's
Yeah.
worse ways to live. It's also October, so it's a great month to just be like, here's Venom.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Exactly.
That's awesome.
Any thoughts on the title? I mean, there's not really much to talk about other than like, yeah, okay, he's vacationing through Europe. Fun.
At one point, I kind of did want them to be like Spider-Man senior prom,
I
Spider-Man
thought-
graduation, like if we're gonna
Yeah.
go homecoming, so on and so
Graduation
forth.
day,
But I kind of like that. There's the home is I like that continuity. I like that little Spider-Man symbol in the O. I also like that it has another double meaning. I think that part of that meaning might also be, because we've heard this before, that this is going to take place right after Avengers 4. I think Spider-Man might be in space in
I think
Avengers
he's
4
really
if he's
far from home.
right.
And he
right.
lands in
That-
Europe.
That's what I think That's what I think it could be.
Yeah.
It could be that it's part of the movie could be him coming back after maybe his family or whatever think he's dead. I don't know. We have no idea what's going to happen.
And
no
how
idea.
cool is that? Like, I just
Yes.
got to point out the fact
Yes.
that, like, you've come on my show back when we first found out Tom Holland was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We knew more about that than we know about Spider-Man now,
Yeah.
and this
Yes.
is a year away. Like, it's really
Yes.
cool to be in an experience where we study this stuff to the T,
Yeah.
and we don't know what's going on, and then, like, it's not that far away timeline-wise.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this movie's next year, and we're like, I don't know why it's called Far From Home. I don't know how he gets to Europe. I don't know if he's in space. I don't know if Aunt May's freaking out. I don't know if Flash Thompson...
Does she know
I don't
that
know
he's
if
Spider-Man, or did he sell her some lie?
and who got
Yeah.
dusted out of the school? Like half of the
Yeah.
world. And Spider-Man's the underdog. He's this friendly neighborhood. How does he deal with the ramifications of coming back from the dead?
We're hearing rumors about what Avengers 4 is as its own, and then how that picks up right after Avengers 3, and this is going to be nuts. And we've
Next year is gonna be crazy.
feels
We've
so
heard
good
because
to not
people
know.
have been
Yeah.
people have been asking Kevin Feige, because they're doing Ant-Man and the Wasp press, what are the trailers going to be for Avengers 4? Again,
How?
talking about that Superman thing, and he said no characters who died at the end of Infinity War will appear in those trailers. He goes, because they're gone, is what he said. And you're like, oh my god!
I
And so it's going to
love
be
this.
this real challenge marketing wise.
Poor Sony. They're trying to market a
Yeah,
Venom movie,
yes.
and they're trying to market a Spider-Man,
Spider-Man
movie
2.
without Spider-Man.
Yes.
So all
They
of
have
their
to wait.
On
universe.
all ends.
They have to wait because Avengers is going to be May, and then Spider-Man's going to be July.
Right.
Yeah.
So 2 months later.
No trailer for Spider-Man until
ads
May.
start 6 months before, and then
Yeah.
then another one at 3. So when do
No.
they get a one trailer? I mean,
yeah.
it'll sell, but
One trailer in
I
May
know.
with
I don't
Infinity
know,
War.
man.
so
Part
Sony
2.
Sony can't put Spider-Man in their other movies, including Spider-Man.
Unless again, the beginning of Spider-Man Far From Home deals with the fact that Peter's gone. A whole 2-minute trailer could be Aunt May, Ned,
Yeah.
like survivors just being like, I can't believe Peter's gone. Like, it could be like a pre-Avengers 4 trailer, and then they could, showing how the movie's going to
What's
deal with that.
happening.
And
It's
then,
so bold.
And then that's what they could do.
The dumpster with the Spider-Man suit in it. Like Aunt May throws out the suit, and we get that
Yeah.
iconic image of like
Yeah.
the spider suit in the foreground and like
Just-
her in the
just-
background.
Just Marissa Tomei crying, just
Yeah.
me crying, just like, oh my god, I can't wait to see what happens. Yeah, what happened? Like, that's gonna
And
be
like
really
Far From
interesting.
Home doesn't give us any clue, which I like, because we're
Sure.
we're saying like it might be space, it might be Europe.
Yeah.
Like I like that the title didn't give anything away. I thought it was fun, that tease. Tom Holland's adorable, like leaning into his spoiler
Yeah,
stuff.
it's cute.
Like that was really cute, and
I
that's the
think it's
market.
funny.
Always.
Yeah.
He's always doing that sort of stuff.
It's great.
Thank you, Annoying Ranter, for the tip. Your comment went by really, really quick. Something
They
about
said-
Assassin's Creed, though.
Yeah, they said I saw Assassin's Creed when I vacationed in Europe. It was cool. Like,
I saw it on the way to Europe,
Yeah.
and I watched 20 minutes of it.
It's not great.
It was real dumb. real dumb.
I'm borrowing that movie from a buddy at work. I gotta watch that. I have it at home. I'm borrowing it for about 2 months now.
That's
Feel
where
like
that's how it goes. That movie.
Okay.
20 minutes at a time, I guess. Let's talk a little bit about the update on the Fox-Disney merger.
Oh, man.
The DOJ has approved the merger. Granted, Disney will have to get rid of some of the sports affiliate networks because of a sort of monopoly, ESPN monopoly that they're concerned with. But pending that, more or less, everything looks good to go.
That's a terrifying image.
Yeah,
by
that
the
was
way.
so haunting.
I was
I
like
was like,
watching
it
it, and
caught me.
it seemed normal, and then I kind of let it sink in. Like, oh god,
Come on, you little fuckers.
Yeah, that's like a,
X-Men, you son of a bitch.
it's a treehouse of horror image. Like that's definitely
is.
like that was
It
real
is.
scary.
Just don't look. Just don't look.
So on July 2017, the shareholders are going to have a meeting with the board to whether or not they're going to approve this or not. And then after that, I think it's kind of a done deal that Fox will officially, 20th Century Fox, some of their movie and TV assets will now become a part of Disney, which obviously means the X-Men, Deadpool, Fantastic Four will be included in that.
Yep.
Hector will be very excited the day that Kevin
I
Feige
am.
announces that Fantastic Four is coming back.
Of course,
Especially
I will
after all the
be.
comments Peyton Reed's been making about his excitement to reboot.
He's been
that.
lobbying for a decade.
I
Peyton Reed.
am
Yeah,
into
he's
it.
all about
I'm into it. I think if anybody could pull it off, it might be him. I think that. Well, first of all, this is bad for monopolies. Let's get that.
Oh,
out of the way,
yeah.
right.
It's bad for people's jobs.
It's bad for people's
Big
jobs.
time.
I don't want people to lose their jobs. That fucking sucks. This is like real bad news bears. I just wish that at some point Disney could have been so powerful that they could have just bought back those characters, and then Fox is Fox. You know what I mean? Like the ramifications of this thing is really, really scary and could be real bad. And hopefully people don't lose jobs and all that other stuff. This is exciting because Marvel Studios has proved, with a few sort of bright spots in an overall Marvel movie history going back to, I don't know, Howard the Duck, that Marvel Studios gets those characters. And I feel like finally we could get Fantastic Four done as a very similar to Incredible style vibe of like, what is the vibe of this? It is family.
Yeah.
It's something that, what's the closest an MCU movie has come to it? It might be Ant-Man with Scott and his daughter. So it's really fitting that it could be Peyton Reed in the running to like do a Fantastic Four movie. The other thing that excites me, not that I haven't loved a lot of X-Men movies and a lot of X-Men movie decisions, including Deadpool. And this is the most exciting thing. For the love of God, bring over Ryan Reynolds to continue playing Deadpool.
I think that's
I'm calling it right now. Deadpool 3. I mean, after X-Force, if and when that happens, Deadpool 3 is going to be called Deadpool versus the Marvel Universe. What a way to market that, where the trailer is just him slicing off Chris Evans' head, Robert Downey Jr.'s head. Do you know what I mean? It's just this like breaking the fourth wall. Marvel Studios being like, we got him and we're going to use him. Like,
amazing?
Yes.
You go into the movie and it's like Deadpool 2 trailers where they hype up X-Force, then they all just die.
Yes.
If he goes into this movie and he actually doesn't fight anyone, like, whoa, we just want to get you guys to come to the theater.
The potential is limitless, and I'm so excited about that. That's the one actor and character please bring over and kind of keep that going.
It's already a soft reboot. Like, I feel like they've already done a beautiful job, that's an easy transfer, and the billions it's made.
The other thing I'm most excited about is like, man, we could get a relevant, current, modern X-Men movie franchise.
Yeah.
That is like, Marvel would know which characters to use, how to use them. And the movies would be about something. You know what I mean? They would have messages. They would be, and they would be able to interact with all the rest of our Marvel characters, certainly, but like bring that side to the MCU of like, now mutant kind is a thing. So now let's dig into some of those stories. And the way that the Marvel Studios has looked at their individual characters' comic book histories, my God, I would love to see what they would pull from the X-Men history.
Yeah.
That on the one hand hasn't been done as a Fox movie, but on the other hand, it's just like a quintessential X-Men story. It's
there's
like,
so many.
There's so many. And with the MCU being as big as it is, we could get X-Men. I know that we've been kind of plotting this and teasing it with X-Men Dark Phoenix, but like X-Men into space, X-Men in the Shi'ar. X-Men, like all of that shit could happen. Lockheed is a little purple dragon from space, and now he's Kitty Pryde's, like all of that could work. And people and audiences wouldn't be like, that's dumb, like that's too much.
We're so deep into Marvel's like weirdness that there's no level that's not like Rocket and a tree should not be like two lead characters in a 5-piece, and totally are. Like I cried in Guardians 2 over a blue guy, and then over a Rocket crying over a blue guy. That should not be like. It was so impressive. So I feel like the X-Men
do with the X-Men,
because the X-Men are a beautiful.
Yes.
Like heart of Marvel. Like there's so much heart in the characters that hasn't been able to fully flesh itself out. Like I've always said that I really appreciate what the X-Men did for comic movies, but they always felt like really good Bryan Singer mutant movies. They never felt like X-Men movies. So I think Marvel could do what they've done with all these characters that were like arguably C and D list characters at the time.
Yeah.
X-Men have been A-listers on and off again
since the 70s.
So now they have these A-listers instead of having the C. And they have 50 years of continuity and storyline and all these things. And they're so good at building teams. Like the Avengers was an assemblage of these amazing solo pieces. So what you could do with like the original 5, or what you could do with like bringing in like when the Nightcrawler wave and like you did the Claremont Byrne era. Like the Claremont Byrne era has barely been touched by the movies, and that's the X-Men. So there's so much you can do, and Marvel knows how to do it. So, and this isn't a spoiler, please, I promise you. Peyton Reed has made something that feels so Fantastic Four and Ant-Man and the Wasp that like it really lines up. Like when I was watching that, I was like, I really hope that works out. Like there was so many moments I was like, oh, Incredibles and this back to back. Like I saw them in the same week, and I was just oh, it's Fantastic Four season.
Totally.
And there's so many actors that could land these roles. I love that John Krasinski, Emily Blunt rumor.
Sure.
I really dug that. And there's so many. There's so many opportunities right now because we got to the point where a crossbone suit with weird machinations didn't feel weird.
Yeah.
We're at a point in society, and that was like 5 years ago now. We're at a point in society, people will be like, stretchy guy, rock guy, cool, I'll see that movie. They don't have to do that weird thing they did with the Chris Evans Fantastic Four where they had to like tone it down. They don't have to go Josh Trank and make it gritty. They can just go Marvel's first family.
Yes.
And it's the perfect time to do it. And we need more family films.
And they
in my
can do
opinion.
that with the X-Men too. And
Yeah.
these are the two perfect sort of properties, I guess, with Deadpool attached adjacently, to shift the focus to these and kind of move away from the core Avengers, the core six, the Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
these actors are probably going to retire them, and the characters could still be alive. But it's like we don't need new Captain America movies. We can kind of focus on some of these new properties. But the beauty is that these movies have been set up to where, and it's like, I love that the Christopher Nolan movies are what they are, and I love certain superhero movies for the finality that they have. I love that Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin dies at the end of Spider-Man 1 and Alfred Molina's Doc Ock dies at the end of Spider-Man 2. That's great. They did not see the potential of setting up this long-running story, and with even the Avengers seeds that they planted, you can have other characters take the mantle of Captain America, take the mantle of Iron Man, take the mantle of Thor even. Valkyrie could be the female Thor.
They've
Jane
already
Foster could come
established
back.
that we'll accept
so
that too.
much, so much that it makes perfect sense to be like Phase 4 is the Fantastic Four, Phase 4 is the X-Men, Phase 4 is, I mean,
Mutant is
God, man, it's just the potential for that for audiences to go, oh, this is why comic book people love these characters.
And you have mutants in the MCU. You have Scarlet Witch. They can just they can bring her
just
over.
retroactively
They can
say, oh no, she's a mutant.
They can M of House and have her say
Yes.
mutants instead of say no more mutants,
There's
and then
so many
activate X genes.
I'm not worried about the logistics at all. And I also know this. I feel like Marvel Studios has had contingency plans
That's
already
yeah.
that are in place. Like they've discussed that before where they're like, well, no, we had plans for maybe if we could get Spider-Man. And then once we got it, we implemented those plans. Same for the X-Men and the Fantastic Four.
I guarantee Marcus
Yeah.
McFeely have written at least 3 scripts that involve X-Men. Like those two guys have been like, what if Omega Red is one of the people in this? What if Mr. Sinister was responsible behind the scenes of this?
What
and
if we
every
want to
time
do the
Bucky,
Illuminati? We're missing Charles Xavier. But what if we
Oh,
had
but what
him?
if we
Boom.
weren't?
Right.
Exactly.
Every time Bucky grabbed that shield, everyone in the comic audience went, "Ah!" And I guarantee once the X-Men activate, we'll go back and watch those movies and we'll retroactively be like, oh, they knew all along. I guarantee there'll be moments that, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's a beautiful thing that they've done. Kevin Feige and his world has built this. There's so many seeds that are just waiting to grow.
know.
Plus, I think part of the stuff that the reason why they're holding back a lot is because of this deal.
Yeah.
Probably.
I think some of it is because
You think there are
because of
some
Infinity
movies?
War.
You think there are some movies that they have dates plotted out that are already going to be Fantastic Four and X-Men movies?
I have a very strong
220 on.
I have a very
Wow.
strong feeling that when this deal started sort of happening and there were conversations about it, I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Feige was like, "Hey, they're having conversations about acquiring 20th Century Fox. Let's leave some slots open for potentially like
Or let's move
X-Men,
some stuff around.
Deadpool, Fantastic Four. Let's leave some wiggle room. If we do some scripts, maybe we can start teasing towards mutants and like how that would all work together."
And this
I
deal's
wouldn't be
been
surprised.
how many years in the making? Like this deal
It's
we've
been, like,
talked about
this
for
whole
4
year
or
so
5.
far.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
in teases, 4 or 5 years of rumblings and
Yeah.
talks. So if
Yeah.
those rumblings had any truth to them, Kevin Feige can spare a couple $100,000 to have amazing writers to write something up to tie that together. It's not like Disney's been hurting.
Right.
So now's the time after this year they could start putting that into fruition because we don't know what those slots are.
Look, Marvel crossed $3 billion this year. They're fine.
Disney's already at 6 and staying in the second half of the year.
They're fine. They can afford it.
Isn't that insane? But
Gross.
that's what scares me so much is like
Yeah.
when the Fox thing gets consumed by that, they're at $6 billion now.
Yeah.
What?
With Avatar,
Mary Poppins? There's a bunch of stuff that's like
Wreck-It Ralph.
Wreck-It Ralph. So but Wreck-It Ralph I think was the first trailer where I was like, they just bragging. like Wreck-It Ralph
that's
when
what
they
I said.
like,
I'm
just
they're
bragging.
stroking themselves
by the
at this
second
point.
half of Wreck-It Ralph, I was like, are they just doing a tour of the
Yeah.
things they own in this
It's a victory
scene?
lap. It's a victory lap.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
Well, we'll see, but it'll be really interesting to see what happens with this deal and what's going to happen by the end of the year because that's when the first trailers are going to start coming out for Captain Marvel and the next Avengers movie,
Wow.
and to see what announcements get potentially made. Be interesting. Closing out for the night, we're going to be talking about Indiana Jones. It's been delayed. Originally had a release date for next year, 2019. Got pushed to 2020. Now it's being pushed again. We don't know to what day. Harrison Ford, Steven Spielberg still on board. David Coop, who had written the script for the last movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, is out. John Kasdan is coming in to do a rewrite of the script. He was one of the co-writers of Solo, a Star Wars story. No one from any studio was willing to comment on it. But I don't know. How do you guys feel about Indiana Jones? Obviously, like most people, I did not like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. This movie is sort of meant to be a passing of the torch of some kind. Whether that means Indy will retire or he'll pass the mantle to somebody else, we don't know yet. I don't necessarily know how I feel about John Lawrence Kasdan writing this story. I have mixed feelings about Han Solo. I know they've done a lot of great work in the past with these characters and Star Wars characters. So optimistic, but I think it's really going to depend on like what is the story you're going to tell and like why should I care about it and like where in the timeline is this? Indy at this point is old. What are we tackling here? I don't know. What do you guys think?
Great comment in the chat. Where should I start reading X-Men comics? Thank you so much for the support. Always been a fan, but never read their books before. Love Cyclops and Jean. Man, I would say either start with, if you love Cyclops and Jean, start with Brian Michael Bendis' all-new X-Men, where the original team come into the future from back in time. Cyclops and Jean, young teen Cyclops and Jean, and they learn that as they get older, they marry each other and have kids, and it's real tragic and freak out. So, like, that's good starting place. I'd also go with Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men run. Pretty much great entry point.
I'd recommend Uncanny around like the 120, 122 range. It's when they're laying the seeds for Dark Phoenix. She's already Phoenix, and then it devolves into the full Phoenix saga. And you only have to read about a year to really embrace that. If you like it, you can go back. If you like it, you keep going forward. But that chunk, it's got Wolverine, it's got Jean, it's got Cyclops. You'll understand a lot of what the Ultimate X-Men kind of did. And I also think that going to X-Men Legacy is the most contained X-Men that explains how weird X-Men is. It's kind of what they're basing Legion off of, and it's the David Haller stuff, and it's analyzing the powers of mutants by way of being a psychological study. So you discover like the id, the ego, the oppressive masculinity of being all these things, and it's a 24-issue run that warps your mind like a Neil Gaiman book or like any of those things, but it's X-Men. So if you like weird, I'd go Legacy. If you like X-Men action superhero comics, I'd go Claremont Byrne.
There we go. Indiana Jones. I mean, I feel like you nailed it, Adam. It's just on the story. I love Harrison Ford. I love Indiana Jones. I love Steven Spielberg. Yeah. I love the idea of coming back and trying to redeem and be like, no, this is the last one we're going to go out on. It could be better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. No, this is the one that's like, this will be the one that you'll remember. But it all depends on what the story is. Steven Spielberg is a different man now than he was when he directed even Kingdom of the Crystal Skull 11 years ago, 10 years ago, and even back to 1989 to 1981, that whole decade, like, he's different, and people have said Crystal Skull didn't work because Indy was old, but was like this invulnerable superhero, and everything was about how kind of old he was, and a different character than he was when he was that young man who could take a punch and he was in his 30s. So it's like, what is Indy now? What does it represent? What's the story? What are you trying to say? And if it's something that's really, really cool and could be fun, but it like maybe really has a heart or something, maybe passing on the torch, I'm excited about it. And I would be fine if it was Mutt, if you bring back Shia. I would be fine. And I would love it if you brought back Short Round. Oh my God. Bring back a 40-year-old Asian guy that's like, hey, Indy. And you're like, oh, shit, it's Short Round.
He at least needs to have that moment. Like, I'd love to have a full, like, third of the movie have Short Round.
Yeah.
And I think that the passing of the torch is a thing that so many movies are trying to do right now and not doing so well.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a lot of, like the Tomb Raider movie was, Tomb Raider's female Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
What was that? Who saw it? Like, and that was Alicia Vikander. Did you like it?
I actually didn't think it was that bad.
Oh,
so that's a tricky market to hit, though, is what I'm saying. Like, it didn't get talked
sure.
about, like the action adventure market. It's really, and that's hard to land. And with Indiana Jones, you're leaning into both a hard market and the nostalgia porn thing. So it's like, how do you nail both of those things while still being loyal to the movie? Because I already feel like Kingdom, the Crystal Skull was chasing the dragon. And like when you have a franchise chasing the dragon plus 10 years, what are you doing? So I will wait until I see some of it to make a judgment. I'm just worried that the legacy of Harrison Ford is becoming like playing these characters. I love that spoiler from a movie 3 years ago that what they did with Harrison Ford in the Han Solo series, like how they let him have the moment he wanted in the old ones. He wanted that to happen forever ago. So I feel like he came back, so he was like, finally. I don't want that for Indy too. I don't want him to just come back to keep dying.
Right. Right.
So I'm tricky on it.
Yeah, it's tough when all these actors want to come back and revisit all these old roles. Harrison Ford has now done it. This will be his third one.
Yeah.
He also did Blade Runner.
I liked him in Blade Runner. Yeah.
But Blade Runner, he was embracing his real life age.
Yes.
He wasn't getting like nuked in a fridge. He was
right.
And I love that Blade Runner also walked both sides of the is he a replicant line with like 3 lines of dialogue.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was
movie's just doesn't
Blade Runner's just so incredible.
That movie was so great.
But
Not enough people saw it, damn it.
And that's another thing is like the market for these 80s remakes is finding that like I think people would rather watch Stranger Things season 3 than they'd watch Indiana Jones. One of them costs half as much.
Yeah. Good point.
Very true.
And you get 8 episodes.
Yeah, like I just like
2-hour movie that might be bad. It's like
You might have one bad 1 hour episode and then 7 that are great.
And the legacy of Stranger Things is in the last 2 years. The legacy of Indiana Jones is so important. I don't want Indiana Jones to get Last Jedi'd where there's an entire contingent of people that are just so upset they want to remake it. Like, because I'm not even gonna comment what I think about Last Jedi because I liked it, but I don't want to be the
you don't have to deal with that fandom.
Yeah, that angry side of the internet.
I know. And on the
I
other
go off
hand,
on a whole tangent about that.
I know, man. And on the other hand, like, I'm really optimistic. It could also be the best Indiana Jones movie.
It could.
I love all the indie movies. Raiders is phenomenal. Temple of Doom's my favorite. I don't think Temple of Doom's the best one, but it's my favorite.
It's
but
fun,
I feel
man.
like if you're really reflecting on what Indiana Jones is, and you have Harrison Ford now, and you're trying to do something where you're bringing in somebody else to maybe pass it on, maybe like a Creed. Like, it could be, like, I think you could make the argument that Creed is the best Rocky movie.
That.
You know, I love Creed.
If he's like his dad, if he's Sean Connery, if he's a professor, if they lean to the professorial side of indie.
And maybe it was Shire, maybe it was somebody else, or
but at that point, I feel like if you do that,
whatever,
I'm on board for that. But I feel like it needs to be somebody else who's coming in and wants to make that.
Exactly, and not
that's the big
same,
difference between
old
Ryan
guard.
Coogler.
You're right, because Ryan Coogler pitched it. He was
Yeah.
like, well, what if we did this, the lost son of Apollo?
It's like it was like a spec. It wasn't like a studio franchise going scoop. Like it
We
came
need
from a
this.
place of positivity.
Sly Stallone was done, and somebody came in with the idea. So
And I
it's
do
like,
think Creed is like. I mean, that's
Creed is.
I think you can make an argument that it's the best Rocky movie.
yeah,
And I love
it's-
Rocky, the franchise. It's phenomenal, but so yeah, I think that there's a possibility that Indy 5 could be great because it taps into that. But what's the idea? What's the story?
You've sold me by saying Creed.
I know.
Actually, like all of the things I was worried about,
Yeah.
you said Creed. I'm like, it could totally work.
Yeah,
Right?
But
And
it
you know
has
what's
to that
funny
perfect
about
medley.
you know what's funny about Creed? They also ignored Rocky's son in that, played by Milo
Yeah,
Ventimiglia from Rocky
he had
Balboa.
that whole
not in the
amazing
movie.
like meltdown in Rocky
Yep.
Balboa. That
Yeah.
that was like one of the moments of Rocky Balboa,
so
the
great.
sixth one.
I hope we see him at some point. It'd be great.
Me too, but it's funny that
just- nope.
they could very easily make Indiana Jones 5 without Shia LaBeouf because maybe he's controversial. Like, people don't like Shia LaBeouf, and it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so you play it safe and do one without him, and then maybe there's another character that's like, you're Dr. Jones, you're Indiana Jones. It's like, I'm retired, and and it could be a male or female character that's like, but what about this? And then they go on an adventure.
And you could have Short Round be the person that brings him to Indy. You could have Short Round meet up with
would love it.
everyone and
I
then
would
be
lo-
like,
and look, in
oh,
my
I know where he's been
fantasy-
hiding in Tibet. And he brings him to Tibet, and Short Round's like, I've known him for a long time.
Yes.
We get our Short Round back.
In my fantasy, it is Short Round himself who shows up and is like, I'm the new Indiana Jones. And he's the one that
That'd
fucking
be
picks up the
crazy.
hat. You know what I mean? And he's the one that's like, I've been your son longer than Shia fucking LaBeouf. Like, that's what my fantasy is. It is Short Round going, and the movie catches us up. Short Round was adopted by Willie Scott. Willie Scott took Short Round to the U.S. at first San Francisco and then maybe New York or whatever. And then Short Round got like an American education and upbringing or whatever, and then became like an expert in certain fields because of his love of Indiana Jones. But that's why Short Round isn't around in Raiders and in The Last Crusade, because he kind of went and had his life maybe with Willie Scott. And then he grows up to become basically like the proto-Indiana Jones. Catches up with Indy in the 60s, in the 70s. I don't know what decade this new one's going to be. And he's like, guess what? I'm the next Indiana
And
Jones.
he'd be a great age for it because you can totally be like this guy who's experienced all these things adjacent,
Yeah.
bring him back
Yeah.
together, and then have the passing of the torch.
It could be
canon.
like, I mean, there's so many great Chinese actors. It could be Korean actor John Cho. It could be, because it's like he's somebody that like he has been taken up by the internet. It's like, put John Cho in more movies.
Yeah.
Like, and people are photoshopping him into like Mission Impossible and shit. And
him and
Casino
Daniel
Royale.
Day Kim. I'm always like more
Yeah.
of these
Yes.
two. Like
Yeah.
both
Yes.
Daniel Day Kim and John Cho. Whenever they show up, it's like good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
right.
there'd be a lot. What's the name of the actor that's on Fresh Off the Boat? Who's going to be? He was in Ant-Man. Who plays Jimmy Woo?
Oh,
that actor.
the guy that was the dictator.
Randall Park.
Randall Park. He could be Short Round, like a grown Short Round. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's just
Lean
so
some
many,
comedy into it
There's
and,
a
like-
there's a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff you could do with it. Yeah, lean some comedy into it. That'd be great.
Because
He's
Short
really-
Round,
Randall
you don't
Park's
want to be
funny.
too like stiff because it's Short Round, so you can
Yes.
have a lot of fun
He's
playing
funny.
with like Randall Park could be amazing.
Yeah. Anyway, that'd be cool.
This is the best Indiana Jones conversation.
Yeah, like I went from being like don't do it because whenever the
Yeah.
Goonies 2 got brought up, I was like don't
Yeah.
you touch my Goonies.
Right.
And Indiana Jones after Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is the same like.
Yeah.
But with the Creed parallel, and I love the idea of Short Round being those are all.
That's how you
great.
do it, y'all.
you could
That's
do.
how you do it.
It's a lot you could do.
I know. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see what happens. Coy, thank you so much for joining us
Coy.
today. Appreciate it so
It's
much.
fun, man.
That was super
Have
fun.
fun in Las Vegas, man.
Yeah, I've
That's
actually
gonna be
never
crazy.
been professionally. I've only been like for bad reasons. And I've,
too.
I've only ever like left Vegas like that was a bad move. So I'm excited to hopefully do that professionally and not have that exit on Sunday.
Let people know what you got going on this weekend while you're there.
So we are doing it's Amazing Con in Vegas, and it's a con that is about comics, like actually, which I love. I loved WonderCon because this WonderCon felt like the 90s. Like WonderCon, I was like, oh, people are buying comics in there. Look, someone that created a comic actually is here. So I'm excited because it's a lot of the Deadpool. Like there's Deadpool from both sides. There's Rob Liefeld and Louis Tan. There's Charlie Cox and some of the people that made Daredevil on the other side. So I'm excited because for me, that's what these properties represent: is people above and below the line make things together. And I think that people like one of my goals as a host to bring stunt people to the forefront of conversation. So these type of cons do that. Like I really appreciate that this con is showing both sides. So I'll be there all weekend. There's a Collider Heroes panel 6:00 on Friday. There's a movie talk panel on Saturday. I'm booking it back Sunday, but I think there's Jim Starlin panel on Sunday that I'm missing, which I'm bummed about. But I got work Sunday. But yeah, so Jim Starlin's going. Like they're invested in the comics.
Wow.
So I got that going on. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram.
He's been so happy about Thanos. Like he's been doing press for the movie. Like he's so happy.
When his name scrolled up in the credits, and I was like, it finally because even so many comic creators don't get enough credit. Like at the Infinity War premiere, I was shocked that Rob Liefeld was like wandering and not being harassed. I'm like, that man made the next superhero movie coming out for $500 million profit. And it's hard with the market. So I really am appreciating Amazing Con being so much about the creatives. Because that's what we all get to appreciate, and we can have weird conversations about Easter eggs because of these people. So yeah, I do all that, and then I got my Marvel Movie News show, Collider Heroes, and I host a game called Arena on Mammoth Media, which is the little like phone trivia thing. And running around. And I love the internet, and I love talking to you guys. Like it's one of my favorite things about this.
Thank you, Coy.
This is fun.
Hit him
You're
up.
the best.
Hit me up.
Hit him up all weekend.
Yeah.
If you're in Vegas, go to the con.
And be here in October when I either live very, very well or die in a fiery.
We gotta have you come back to talk about Venom.
It'll be
See what the outcome is of that movie.
For sure. Yeah.
Hector, where can everybody find you?
Find me on the internet at Hector is Funny. Be sure to watch the newest episode of Animation Investigation. We talk about what's going to maybe happen in Star Trek 4 as it relates to Star Trek, the animated series from the 70s, maybe. Because it's like Anton Yelchin passed away. He's not going to play Chekhov. What are they going to do with Chekhov? Are they going to recast him? No, they're not going to recast him. But watch this video and find out maybe what they're going to do with the character of Chekhov. Watch that.
You just find me at Adam Hlavik. I'm going to go to the dentist and hopefully get my problems fixed.
Heal, man.
Bye.
Bye, guys.